All right, we're live. Okay, so first off, I do want to start with I've had an irritant go into my eyes, and my eyelids are completely awful, and I've had to put a little bit of, whatever around it to sort of medicate it. It hurts. It doesn't hurt anymore, actually. It's just really swollen. And so I've decided, since I can't put any eye makeup anywhere, I'm just going to dress down. And so I'm comfortable casual, but thank you for dressing up for the staff meeting, production meeting, whatever you want to call it. As it says over here, production meeting. But I called you all here. Well, what happened to the other one?
Oh, I'm sorry. She's
Maya.
we're not sure what happened to her actually, but she wasn't available.
Oh, wow. Isn't that great? The liberties that people have. Well, all right. So the first meeting of the day, I actually call myself. She don't show up. But anyway, so the reason that I called you all, well, than you, is because as much as I'm grateful that I'm able to start over my career and everything, and I do understand that this is a channel that focuses on animals and pets and all that, which is all nice, and it's very cute, it's adorable. I think it's adorable, but here's my thinking. I brought you here because I think that we could add a little bit more journalistic integrity into what we're doing, especially with my own background. And there's a story that I think needs to be told that's not been told, and I think a lot of people are confused about it. And I do appreciate you being open to even listening to what I have to say, because I know you're the producer, and usually the producer, oh, my lighting, look at that. Usually the producer, I don't know what happens, usually the producer is the one that sort of brings up certain stories that they like to have going on or whatever, but here it is. I'm a serious journalist, and I want to go back to that, really. I'm not trying to say that I want to let go of all the cutesy stuff, but I do want us to sort of be legitimized a little bit more, so that I don't, so I can walk down the streets with my head held high. And when I run into my journalist colleagues, that they're not making fun of me. Do you understand?
Yeah, we think you had some hard-hitting interviews with like Jamal and Dave Foster, but if
Okay, do you know what?
Hearing about what you think
you
about.
You can be quiet now. Jamal the Beaver. Jamal the Beaver. Yeah, no, that is not serious journalism. Jamal the Beaver has an attitude problem. And at the end of the day, if my name was Jamal and I was a beaver, and I just found myself having to talk to a journalist as serious as me, of course, at the end of the day, it doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in any vicinity close to me, in the sense that it's not serious. I understand that I've got a talent for talking to animals.
You do.
Thank you.
It's very unique and amazing.
Right. But sometimes enough is enough, yeah?
Yeah, we have an exclusive contract with Jamal. We're the only network that he can actually speak with on TV. But we'll talk to the executive producers about that.
So anyway, and the reason why we're live is because I really like to sort of document my re-entree, if you like, into the serious journalism world. And I think people would be interested to see like how we come up with stories and what we discuss and all of that. And this will be different because it's not your cutesy, two lesbian dogs getting married, right? This is definitely something that I think a lot of people are not quite versed about. I remember at one point we had a really good expert that talked about passports and for pets, traveling for pets and all of that, and what you need for certain countries and having all your papers together, your vaccines together,
Our,
and I think
our
that's
new
important.
pets need visa segment
Right.
with the immigration attorney. Yes.
Definitely. So I think this could be like an offshoot of that, sort of a continuation of all that. And what I was thinking, obviously, God, I look shiny. See, this does not give me like great, well, good face,
Glowing.
like
You're
Zoom.
still, yeah, you're still glowing. So that's
I appreciate, thank you. I'm just in, comfortable setting. I forget this is casual, not really doing a show. Just having a production meeting. But thanks for dressing up and looking as good as you do. Really appreciate that. That shows effort. That shows, care and all of that. Not that I
we
don't care.
definitely care.
That's good. I
Our,
appreciate it.
our production team cares.
I'm sure we all appreciate that. Thank you. So, as you've heard, perhaps there was this whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial that happened, and of course, it has reignited certain aspects of their marriage, mainly the Australian debacle. And I'm not talking about the bottle that was thrown and the severed finger.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the dog, Boo and Pistols, the dogs Boo and Pistols,
Yes.
Yorkshire Terriers that were smuggled into Australia. And I figured it would be important to talk about why Australia is definitely looking at making this a serious, not making this a serious offence, and why it is a serious offence to the point where they would like to extradite Johnny Depp and Amber Heard on this subject, and what it means to the Australian people. They are a continent country, and their biosecurity is very important to them. And so I thought we could explore a little bit about that. And I sent you a few things. Hopefully you had time to look at it. And I'd like to thank you for being open to this story. And I think it's been sensationalized, and a lot of people are like salivating. Oh my God, who's going to go to jail or whatever. But I think it's more important to talk about what biosecurity means to a country like Australia, and why it's important to them.
Yeah, it's definitely a good story. I think we understand your desire to get back into journalism, with a more serious tone than perhaps maybe we cover, even though we enjoy all the conversations you have with animals. We
And
think
can I
it's
just say,
hard hitting.
I'll be damned if Piers Morgan starts doing serious journalism before I do. I mean, he's doing something or whatever, and no, I mean, it spurs me on because I saw him talking to Barnaby Joyce, who was the Minister of Agriculture at the time. And I'm like, Piers Morgan doing serious journalism, asking serious questions. Look at that. I guess when he tried to do Larry King that one time, he couldn't get enough of it, although we got enough of him, right? And
Yeah, it sounds like you may have a past or some shared background with Mr. Morgan.
we've crossed paths.
Mm.
As obsessed as he is with Meghan Markle, he was pretty obsessed with this Meghan, I must say. So yes, we've got a past, a little bit of past. Whatever.
Well, I bet he's never interviewed any animals, so
Exactly. He's
doesn't have that.
no heart. You've got to have heart to interview animals. He hasn't got a heart. So what do you want? But at the end of the day, I'm seeing him talking to Barnaby Joyce, and I'm like, who's like the deputy minister now in Australia?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what is going on?
So
It's doing serious
he's
journalism.
coming back. He's going to run.
I think so. I think that's what I heard when I was watching it, right? And you know what? I can't find it again. So I watched it. I must have watched it live. stumbled upon it, and it was very, very interesting. And I saw a man that saw biosecurity of his own country to be very important
Very
and
serious.
not to be taken lightly. And I said, you know what, let me look into this, because I don't think people understand how serious this is. And although one of the things that happened in 2000, I believe it was 2015 that it's occurred. Can we verify that? So I would, for the story, once we do the story, we just need to verify the timeline.
Okay.
I believe it was 2015. And one of the things that happened is that Johnny Depp was doing Pirates of the Caribbean
Yes.
5, I believe. Can we verify that? Was it 4 or 5 or 5, whatever? It's the last one.
I think I think it was 5. Sorry. I'll verify.
So, and from what I understand, they were flying private, and there are all these rules, right? And some rules were skirted, and the assumption was that,
It was 5, by the way.
okay, Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Okay, so that happened. What I wasn't sure about, and we need to verify that, was Johnny Depp already in Australia,
I think he was
or were
already.
they flying together? Because the
I don't
last
think they
report,
came together.
see, I thought that too, but I saw a last report, and I want you to watch it with me if you want to. The last report with Barnaby Joyce,
Mhm.
the reporter said that they were flying together. And
Hmm.
I don't think they were. I actually thought that Johnny Depp was already in Australia, and Amber Heard was to join him in Australia. So where it gets blurry, we're not going to get into the politics of who did what and what did because that's not what we're concerned about. What we're more concerned about are the laws of Australia in terms of their biosecurity and what it means to them, and how you need to prepare when you go there, and what's it like, and costumes and all that, and how many days and all that. And I think that's
Yeah.
the important part. Now, as far as perjury goes, look, we'll see what happens, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's all
she
about,
had some revealing testimony in this other trial, where Johnny Depp came back to
right,
protect himself, and this is kind of what resurrected, right? Everything that
exactly.
and and I agree with what you're saying. I mean, Australia is an island nation. Biosecurity is so important for their agriculture, their health, their economy. It is pretty serious, and it seemed like a lot of people didn't take it seriously when it happened. I mean, she even
No,
what does she have now? The bigger poodle, I think it's a poodle mix or something. She named the dog after Barnaby
Barnaby
Joyce.
Joyce.
So
Yeah.
she did that, and I think she thought, leads to other things too. Like, did she think that she could kind of get away with it? Nothing would come back, and then she even taunted the former agricultural prime minister. Like, I don't.
Well, the Minister of Agriculture.
Minister of
Yeah,
Agriculture. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. He's Deputy Prime Minister. So, yeah, it's very interesting that because it wasn't taken seriously. Well, I think they thought it was taken seriously. They were very sorry. They were contrite, and then so they had asked them to do a PSA to sort of talk about the importance of making sure that all your vaccines for your dog, whatever, your pet, are up to date and you're ready to travel, blah blah blah. So it's disappointing when you find out that people from other countries do not respect the laws of certain
Sure.
countries, but expect when they come to theirs to respect their laws. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think if we were more concerned about our environment, there are certain diseases that we wouldn't have right now. I mean, Barnaby Joyce said in the last report that I watched that they've eradicated rabies. They don't have
Yeah,
rabies
they don't
in
have it.
Australia. So, and I understand what he said was that, a lot of times people assume that if they're pets, that they're little tiny dogs, they may not have anything. But like he said, it's exactly the kind of pet that would sort of carry something like that. It's a lap dog. There's a lap dogs. So most people come very close proximity to these dogs. And if somebody were to get bitten by whatever reason or something were to happen, and rabies would be reintroduced in a country that hasn't had it in a
It
very,
could be,
very, very long time.
it could be very devastating. The transmission of any diseases, pest carrying anything could have a great impact on livestock. And there are diseases they are worried about too that could be transferred from animals to people.
Yeah,
And
could we make a list of those?
yeah, we should. We'll put that together. And
Okay.
but and again, Australia obviously is more strict than the U.S. for people importing pets, but there are reasons, like you're saying, there are reasons why they have to be more protective. We're under they have a three categories of countries, then some countries don't need to prove that they don't, pets coming from those countries are rabies free. So they don't need to prove that they are rabies free with certifications. But, US is on in the third category and it is stricter for us. But like you mentioned, like they're trying to show Barnaby Joyce is trying to show that just because they're celebrities, they're not above
That's a good point.
guidelines. And
So
they had
that's a good point, yeah.
and now, and what you had mentioned to us too in a previous meeting was about the fact that more information came out from assistants to Johnny Depp. It was
Yes.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard that she was well aware of how serious it was to take a pet to Australia and was advised not to. And I think what's bothersome to I know us producers, what was bothersome when we talked about it too was they had notification, they have money, they have time. To
Allegedly, according to what,
according to
so
yes,
allegedly there was information. Now this is coming from the the ex house manager of Johnny Depp. He said that he no longer wants to perjure himself and wants to rectify what he'd lied about because he was asked to lie, is what he said, and he's saying that he gave a notification. He told her, "Look, we're approaching the time limit. Now it's too late. Blah blah blah. The dogs need to be quarantined. The dogs need this and that." And he says there was all this communication, there was all this email communication between them too. And what was said was that she said she had no idea and she was sleep deprived, jet lagged, and you know wasn't notified, that her assistant did not tell her,
yes,
something like that.
and then her
And then he
assistant
was asked to lie,
to take the blame and
according to him.
yeah, it was the fault
Allegedly,
of her other assistant and
yeah, allegedly was asked to lie. So that's something that's going to have to be cleared up. Obviously, like you said, this whole trial. So, in the sense, what they're trying to say is the trial illuminated what happened in Australia, and therefore they had to um,
revisit.
sort of revisit exactly what occurred, and then based on the the verdict, right, that was rendered in terms of the Amber Heard, whatever. So there's a lot of deception, and they've basically said that she's a liar.
Yeah, and the assistant was no longer afraid about his job, or the woman
Right.
was afraid about her job. So they wanted, they could even feel just guilty for having to lie because they were scared for their jobs,
Exactly.
or his job. I also will take a look for you to confirm all those details exactly of.
Yes, his last name is Murphy, and he definitely, not definitely, but there was, he alluded to, from what I read, allegedly, that she sort of said, well, if you could lie for me and say that I didn't know, blah, blah, whatever, then, you know, wouldn't want you to lose your job type of thing, hope you'd stay longer, like, apparently, allegedly. So if we could sort of get clearance on that, figure out that aspect of it. And then I've got here, that I've emailed to the first show, a complete entry requirements to travel to Australia with your pet. So let me just read these to you. Dogs must be identified. So this is from the bringfido.com website. Okay. And it just says Australia, and you can visit the website, and it gives you the entry requirements. So this is according to that website. It says, complete the following entry requirements to travel to Australia with your pet. First, dogs must be identified by a microchip that can be read by an Avid, Trovan, Dustron, or other ISO-compatible reader. A government-approved veterinarian must scan the microchip at each veterinarian visit. The scanned microchip number must be correctly recorded in all documentation. And then pets must complete rabies vaccination and rabies neutralizing antibody titra RNAT, along with test declaration attached.
Yeah, to show that it actually works. It actually is in the body and fighting.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next one is, after you have received the complete rabies vaccination and RNAT test declaration, and at least 42 days prior to proposed date of travel, apply and pay for the import permit to Australia. 42 days.
And I believe that the assistant that you spoke about, he advised her at some point, don't take the pets. So it's not worth it not to take
the house manager, I believe, Murphy, will definitely have to verify that.
Yeah. I think what is
said.
troublesome, like you said, we don't know the exact details of the timing, but it is made to sound like there was enough timing to know it wasn't a good idea to take the pets, and that a lot of steps had to be taken to clear them.
Right.
And it was completely ignored.
According allegedly to
the houseman.
They were ignored. And then
if I could add to McGann, it is also frustrating, I think, for us animal lovers, is that when you have the means to do it the right way, and you're given, some people don't, maybe they're naive, they really didn't know, or they have a lot of trouble getting someone to watch their pets when they leave for a while. But you have this person that has a lot of means and advice and, a support staff, and people can watch the pets. So it's, I think that can be pretty frustrating. And then you're, threatening the biosecurity of an island nation. So it's, we like that you want to cover this because it's serious.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I was, there's a bunch more.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of testing.
There's a lot of things. And I was also wondering, do you think we should also talk about, they also talk about livestock and other animals and what those rules are. I mean, they even have very strict rules for animals that are living in Australia.
Yes.
So is that something we want to cover?
Yeah, it's interesting because they have a lot of, free roaming dogs, but they have a system in place for these farmers and, other people in the agricultural industry to like protect the livestock. Cause, but
it's an expert.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get an expert?
I think so. And we have people, at these companies, like the website you mentioned and other places that they study this, they study the laws of the land and why they have them. So I'm sure we could get somebody.
Can we get an Australian? Maybe an Australian veterinarian or something, or a customs agent or something.
Yeah, because it is true. Like two toy Yorkies, or the official names for these two breeds, these two dogs, seem, it's not threatening. It seems like people wouldn't take it seriously. But then when you see what can happen if they do have something and they spread it. It's insane what the impact can be.
And I
So
think one of the reasons they thought, I mean, some people thought it was ridiculous is because he did threaten to have them euthanized.
yeah,
And so they were like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that?
horrible.
But he gave them an option to leave
Yes,
or have them euthanized, because clearly it's not like the dogs are not going to be exposed to staff members. It's not like the dogs were by themselves and only exposed to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp or whatever. There are staff members. Um, these people travel with staff, and so these are the people that are roaming around Australia,
yes,
and that could definitely be infecting others. So I definitely think if we can get an expert from Australia with like a really good Australian accent, that would be awesome. And what else?
but
Even if we get a farmer,
you know, it's interesting too what you mentioned about that they have protocols in place in Australia in these areas that have all the livestock and that people practice, but also that I found out after, you know, as you're mentioning the story too, that donkeys and llamas are used to protect other livestock in some way. So
really.
yeah, it's really interesting and pretty cool, right? It's pretty
Yeah, I think it's, and you know what? We don't know much other than kangaroos and koala bears.
and dingoes. So we do have a dog.
Right. You know, the dingo ate my baby. That's all we know. And so I think getting to know more about it, I think that would be really interesting. And, you know, New Zealand has similar laws as well, because they've got a very rich vegetation and fauna and all that. So, yeah, there's that. Let me ask you a question. Should we have an excerpt of Barnaby Joyce talking?
I think so.
All right.
Maybe we can. I mean, we'll do our best to even
We'll have to
try to get
clear.
a statement from a spokesperson.
So we'll have to clear the video. So I've sent one to Fur.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the last one I saw. Okay, so yes. Australian Member of Parliament discusses Amber Heard perjury investigation. So this is Barnaby Joyce. What was interesting in this interview, he was doing some farm work. He was on his farm and he was dressed in his farm garb. Like, if we could get a farm garbed wearing person, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think that would be really, really awesome. And just sort of explaining a little bit more about Australia. And I mean, and you know what would be great? If we could find out if there was one point where one little incident happened and it changed the ecosystem.
I think something happened in 2017 and 2009 in particular, but yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Something that devastated the economy, but you know, I'd take a look at that.
Because I mean, think about it. There's a reason why this is important. Look at how the
2007.
goldfish have become these ridiculously big, massive fish in ponds.
Yeah, yes, and well, I mean, as you mentioned, that too.
Goldfish down the toilet and then thinking it's okay, or letting go of their goldfish in the pond or whatever, and thinking it's okay, and they become like these massive pests. They're huge now.
Yes, it's especially their marine life. I mean, they have this huge coastline. They're an island nation. That's a huge biosecurity point for them as well. Definitely, they really need to look out. It's, you know, I guess there's some things that maybe in the U.S. and places in Europe that we take for granted because we're not an island nation. I know in the UK it's a little different. You got more water surrounding the whole place, but that's, yeah, we'll look up those incidents. I know that something had happened. Oh, this is something that was another celebrity that was blocked in 2013. Katy Perry had an album and there were flower seeds in the packaging, and they weren't allowed to as part of her like marketing or whatever. It wasn't allowed to be sold in Australia because the flower seeds were considered a biosecurity threat.
That's absolutely, I
Yeah.
agree.
So
I mean, there are places you can't bring certain fruits because of the seeds. You know, you eat the fruit and then you poop the seeds, right? And then what does that do? So I wonder what happens if, what do they do? Well, yeah. What do they do if you ate an exotic fruit? That's a question I'd like to ask. What if I ate an exotic fruit, traveled to Australia, and then pooped there?
yeah.
Are there sewage systems equipped to destroy seeds that have come out of my poop?
Yes.
I'm just curious. So I think that's important. I think we should leave somebody on that. Poop patrol.
I need to stick. I can't believe I called him the agricultural prime minister. Agricultural
That's right.
minister.
That's all right.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, there were incidents that definitely happened in the 2000s that affected their economy and hurt animals.
Well, that's another thing. Yes, he definitely talked about how this affects their economy. It's
Oh,
directly. It's all
millions.
about their economy, really.
I mean, their economy, how important agriculture is to their economy for livestock and dairy and marine life. It's if something spreads rapidly, that could cost them millions. So that's
Yeah.
definitely something.
And I'm very impressed that a lot of Australians live these lives where they're in the city during the week and in the weekends they're on their farming.
Yeah.
So this is a people that have not lost touch with their agricultural pasts, and it's admirable. And I think we should be supporting that more.
I think, yeah. And they're
And
gonna.
sometimes somebody has to be made an example of. I'm sorry.
Those are exact words that I was thinking. McGann was like the example that she has now been caught saying things that don't coincide with what she said before in a trial, and people are coming out now that were afraid to speak up before, so they say. And she also offended this person in government in Australia already, and
Like, don't mess with some people you don't mess with, and they never forget. Yeah.
And he messed with like one of the biggest that we know of biosecurity advocates, in Australia. So it's like,
And you messed with him.
yes.
And he's not pulling any punches. He says, you know what? We want both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Because at the end of the day, if Johnny Depp signed off on it, he's as guilty. I'm sorry. And I love Johnny Depp. Like,
yes.
I'm a huge, like, oh my gosh, what a big heart he has, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you knew that she did this, then you're wrong. But if you didn't know, then that's different. And it's after the fact, then I guess, you're what, essentially some sort of accessory after the fact. So I guess we would have to determine if Johnny Depp is an accessory after the fact. And at which point did he know that, well, obviously when he saw them.
There's so many reports out there. It's like I read one story where so she was very pushy about taking the dogs, and he recommended she did not. And then he wasn't. There's no paper trail leading to him. But again, now we're going back to other reports he talked about. Did they come together or not? Because if they came together,
that's the part. Did they come together? Did she stuff it in her bag?
Yeah.
Did she stuff it in her bag? Because I'm assuming customs comes on the plane. Was it in a bag? What, like, those are the little details I would love to
get the Yorkies out for that long. And if she did know the deadlines and how much time it would take to get the paperwork and with the permit, and then the dogs would have to be quarantined for 10 days, like, why not wait? She could have waited as well. Let him work.
Right.
Just let the man work on the movie, and whatever else is going on can wait for your dog's safety and the country's safety. But
yep. Now, did the flight attendant know?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people involved. That's true.
Did she assume that all the papers were done?
Yeah.
Did the pilot know? Did they
A
assume
private
that
jet is not so private, for sure.
it's not? There's always a flight attendant and there's a pilot. And so it would be interesting to know what they knew. And is Australia going to go as far as interviewing, or have they gone? Because Barnaby Joyce talked about the FBI going after them. I mean, sort of on the task. He said there are 2 FBI agents that are
They're stationed in Australia.
in Australia, yeah. And so I guess they're tasked to making sure they get all the. So FBI is really more of a gathering of evidence kind of an agency. They don't determine guilt or innocence. What they do is they gather as much intelligence as possible, and then you do with it what you like, right? And so I guess it's up to the United States to, if there's enough evidence that there was malice, that word again, I guess, you know, the United States would have to decide if it is important to them to extradite um, for someone for such an offense. And I think to keep harmony between countries, I mean, we are allies. Sometimes you do have to do that. Maybe if she does go, they'll say, well, because you decided to actually show up, whatever, they won't give her a jail sentence. Maybe they'll just say, do community service or something. I think that would be adequate. I think she's got, like, she can't afford half the stuff that she's been accused of, right? She's owing like $8 million. And so I think fining her would be a futile exercise. I think putting her to jail, I understand that Australia, and trust me, it's just because I'm thinking about the fact that she's a mother, and if she decides that she will travel and turn herself in, I think that's admirable enough that it would behoove them to say, you know what, if you can do some community service, or if you can do this or whatever, or maybe with her baby sort of be confined in one place, maybe not an actual jail. But then Barnaby Joyce might say, oh, well, why are we making things a little bit more comfortable for a celebrity?
Yes. I think that from everything we've read in the statements from the house manager about what allegedly happened, it seemed like she knew, but maybe, or perhaps she didn't know really how devastated it could be if the dog spread something in that island nation. Maybe she didn't realize that, or didn't even
I
think
don't
about
think
it.
a lot of people understand. I really, honestly, as much as I despise what may have occurred between those two, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe violence from any side should happen. But at the end of the day, I really do believe that, which is why this is important for me, that we do this story. I really don't think people understand the extent to which it is important to sort of secure your biodiversity, your biodome, if you will, and how devastating it could be if it is upset. I mean, look at New York with their rat population.
Oh my gosh.
And, we did a story, they introduced possums to eradicate, and then the possums took over because they didn't have any natural predators. That's a problem. Now you've changed the complete biosystem of New York.
It's
That's an
true.
issue. Of course, you probably have less rats, but then they're, what do you call them? Omnivores, right? They eat
Yeah.
anything. So they're not necessarily, if they've got an hamburger, what do you think he's going to choose? The hamburger or the rat?
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
choosing the hamburger. So,
Choose a prepared meal.
exactly. So I don't even think the rats are being really, I think they're staying away if they know that there's a possum around. But I don't think that they're really going, oh my God, I'm afraid. Oh, because they're thinking, oh, there's all this food
Oh, here's a
around.
sandwich. You're
Yeah, let's
set.
share.
Save a life. Save another. Oh my gosh.
So I
But
think
yeah,
so. what do you think? So what do you think we should? So should we do it like some sort of like a 2020 reportage, or should it be more like a segment of the fur
I
show?
I like the ongoing, like the checking in segments on fur, but for you to do maybe a longer piece, separate piece,
I think so. I think
to do
this will
both.
signal. I think this will signal to the world that I'm back, seriously back. Like I'm not just doing fluff. No offense. Um, that I'm really serious because you know what? I've decided I'm going to be out there a little bit more and sort of showcase what I do seriously and sort of talk about serious subjects out there and have opinions about things. And I think that could complement really well with that story. And again, we're not focusing on the sensationalist part of it. We're focused on how it affects, you know, the ecosystem and animals and all of that. Yay. It's got all the elements. It's
Yeah,
got intrigue, it's got, you know, sensationalism, but we're not going to talk too much. And it's got information. I think people need to be informed.
it's very relevant, and it's a developing story. We don't know if they're going to, what are the next actions taken against Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and the dogs. What a
Bow and Pistol, what happened to
Yeah,
them?
they're just innocent. They're
Can we
innocent.
get an update? Where are Boo and
Yeah, we'll
Pistol?
hit an update for you. They're
Okay,
just innocent fur babies in all of this.
and Barnaby Joyce.
Oh
Where's
yeah,
Boo, Pistol,
Mr.
and
Joyce.
Barnaby Joyce?
And we'll get the experts, and like you said, and this will be this will be
Goody.
very interesting because we have many other nations in similar boats, probably to Australia. Maybe they're
New
not.
Zealand. I think
Yeah,
New
New
Zealand
Zealand,
is another one. Do you know?
absolutely,
New Zealand is definitely one
absolutely.
that protects its bio
And
dome.
it's interesting too, because the Caribbean, I'd be curious about that as well. But the Caribbean islands,
Oh,
but
so when I would travel a lot to the Caribbean, there's certain fruits that I was not allowed to bring in.
yes, it seems
There's
very
certain nuts I was not allowed to bring in. So I definitely, um, yeah, I would bring nuts. Like I could bring cashews, almonds, like your regular stuff. But there's a list of, you know, certain fruits and nuts that you can't bring in there for
I know
sure.
rice. You can't take rice from India to the U.S.
Over there.
It's a huge issue in customs.
Really?
Yeah. So there's definitely, yeah. This is interesting in the pet situation. The U.S. is definitely a little more lenient than other countries, but again, we don't have to worry. Well, we still have to worry, but not as to the extent to maybe of these other places, just
Well,
because of geography.
right. I do know that they've allowed pets to travel in cabin to Australia, so that's huge. So you don't have to fly private to have your pet on your lap or whatever.
And bringing your pets into Australia and then also getting them out of Australia, that's also another.
So should we touch on that?
I think so, because it's not. She again didn't have to go through all the steps, and I am not including Johnny Depp yet, since we don't know yet if he is to be included in the accusations. Of
Well, according to Barnaby Joyce, he's like, I want them both.
he wants them both.
So it would be nice for us to figure out if both should be had.
Is it going to be both? And
Yeah.
yes, does it
What's
make sense? Does
what's
we're
the
big Johnny Depp
evidence?
fans here too, and
Who knew what? Let's find out who knew what
who knew what? Did he
and
just let it
when.
go? He just, didn't want to fight with her, and or did he even know? Was he busy working on the movie? He had no idea. Did he?
Oh
Or
my
maybe
God!
he
Well,
didn't
you
know. But
guys would.
yeah, if you're in a couple, and you're close, and they're married at that time. Were they married at that time?
Yeah, they were married, of
Yeah,
course.
so they were
Yeah.
married at that time. So I mean, you if you have any communication, it doesn't look good for him at this point, because you would probably be aware of what each other is doing to some extent.
Well, here's the thing. would we look at the situation as this person is an abused spouse and therefore really didn't have a say?
He's scared.
Yeah, maybe. So if he did know, maybe he was scared to say anything because, in the PSA, when you watch it, and I wonder if we should play an excerpt of that, but when you watch it, you really want to tell him, blink twice.
Yeah. Blink if you're, safe.
Yeah, because he looked like a hostage person, and it didn't look good at all. And you could see that he still had his eye makeup on,
Yeah.
So like you can tell he'd come from set, taken off the makeup, still had a little bit of eyeliner left, and was forced to do this. And you could tell he did not want to be there.
Yeah. More like I told you not to take them kind of look.
That
But now what
kind,
you do?
and I do know there is some communication allegedly that he said, "I will not be taking them." So that's why I'm wondering if he was there first and she went to meet him after.
Yes.
So there's a discrepancy, like I said, when it comes to the last report that I saw on YouTube.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good. Sounds like we have a plan, McGann. Thanks for sharing your idea with us. And
Yeah, and I think this could be, like you said, an ongoing thing, and we can do some updates. And so when do you think it should be ready?
I think for the update for the segment this week, in our regular recording to cover it, but we have to do some collection of the information and things like that. So we'll have an update for you later this week about.
So can we swap that and not have an expert this week and not have like a
touch on the story.
guest, and we could just use that spot for that?
I think yes, a guest to do a informed soundbite or something at the least, or a couple questions. Maybe a short interview for you or something, and yeah, we'll get some commentary.
Now, I'm wondering, should we ask people in the street what they think? Like, do they know about the rules of Australia? Do they understand?
Yeah, that is a really good question of the week too.
Yeah, so we have to find a really good question that one can pose and have answered on the street. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, would you travel with your pet knowing, would you even know? Do you have any idea about taking your pet to other countries? I mean, not even just Australia, right? Any place on restrictions. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we can even ask the simple question. Do you think, she's guilty? Is he guilty?
That's so controversial, isn't it?
A little dose of controversy.
Ooh, everybody wants a little controversy. I can't do
Yes.
that. I'm sorry.
I hate to say we might have an animal come on to make their comment on some livestock from Australia or dingo or something, but
You and them dingoes, really, you like?
we have a few on our guest Rolodex, so
Oh, you do?
have some dingoes.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I think that would be great if we can get some actual Australian footage. Like,
Yeah.
that would be lovely. Oh, that would be lovely. That would be really, really lovely. Yeah, I think I could get back to interviewing real people. Right?
We hear you, McGann. All
Where
right.
I'm talking to someone, and guess what? I'm not listening to their inner mind. I'm actually getting feedback back with words.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. I think this is okay. This will set me up to feeling a little better, and I think I'll be less snarky. Really, I think I'll be in better mood. Really.
Yes.
I mean, I hear what you guys say about me. I've seen some of the outtakes. Really, I've seen some of the stuff. Yeah, you people retaliate against me quite a bit. You put the outtakes. I think they're funny. I've got a sense of humour. I don't mind. It's fine. It shows another aspect of me. But really, if I seem cranky, it's because I think that my talents are not exploited, really, and I speak well with people. Okay. Well, I thank you for doing all of
Yeah,
this.
thank you.
Yes. And so
We
I'm going
might
to
be
end
coming
it
into
now.
a control area here soon. So
All right. Well, I'm going to end the
the other show.
broadcast now. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll hear from the other one,
Yes.
Mariah, right?
Yes.
Okay. So looking forward to, I don't know, endeavoring into something a little bit more serious and journalistic. Yeah?
Yes, Leanne.
All right. Signing off.